They sang it first, they recorded it first, they lived the story first. But when the song became a hit, someone else got the applause, the radio play, the chart success, and in some cases, the credit.
When you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight.
Some of the biggest classics you've heard for decades weren't made famous by the artists who created them. They were covered, repackaged, and reintroduced to the world by someone else.
Tell me I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream.
Tonight, we're setting the record straight. Welcome to Retro Vinyl. These are 12 R&B hits that someone else got credit for, and the remarkable stories behind the original artists who came first.
Now tell me, darling, I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. So little goodbye, baby, diamond ring.
12 Diddly Daddy, Bo Diddley, 1955. Bo Diddley didn't just record Diddly Daddy. He recorded it because someone took the song before he could. The track was originally written by Chicago blues musician Billy Boy Arnold, who had already cut his own version the day before Bo walked into the studio.
Bo Diddley called a Bellcat.
Label boss Leonard Chess heard Arnold's demo, wanted it badly, and had already signed Arnold to VJ Records. Chess had a problem, so he handed the song straight to Bo Diddley instead, had it rewritten, and put his name on it.
To make it pretty, baby, on Sunday hat.
Arnold never got the moment that should have been his. Bo's version peaked at number 11 on the Billboard R&B chart in 1955, and the track's raw, tremolo-drenched groove became another brick in the foundation of what we now call rock and roll. While Bo Diddley struggled heavily to get his records distributed or played on mainstream American radio stations, the Rolling Stones used those exact rhythm blueprints to conquer the global pop charts. In fact, to prove they possessed authentic rock and roll grit, the Stones recorded a blistering cover of Diddley's Diddly Daddy during their landmark March 1963 demo session at London's IBC Studios, a tape they successfully used to secure their historic deal with Decca Records.
I love you, baby, with all my heart. Diddy-dum-dum-dum-diddy.
Arnold eventually got some recognition in later decades for his contributions to Chicago blues. But Diddly Daddy, charting under someone else's name, is a story that started exactly the way this countdown ends, with power deciding who gets credit and who gets left behind.
Bo Diddley, have you heard?
Our next artist watched his song go number 1 for someone he'd never even met. Number 11, Good Rockin' Tonight, Roy Brown, 1947.
Well, I heard the news, there's good rockin' tonight.
Roy Brown wrote Good Rockin' Tonight, and then did something he'd spend years regretting. He offered it first to blues shouter Wynonie Harris, who turned it down flat. Brown recorded it himself in 1947 for Deluxe Records after a producer who heard him sing it over the phone at 2:30 in the morning told his associate, reportedly, give him $50 and don't let him out of your sight.
I'm gonna hold my baby tight as I can. Tonight she'll...
Brown's version hit number 13 on the Billboard R&B chart. That's when Harris changed his mind. Harris went back into the studio, recorded his own version with gospel hand claps and extra energy, and wrote it to number 1.
I heard the news, there's good rockin' tonight.
Brown watched his own song go to the top of the chart in someone else's version. Then in 1954, a 19-year-old named Elvis Presley recorded it at Sun Records, his second ever single.
Well, I heard the news, there's a good rockin' tonight.
The word rocking in 1947 carried a meaning most radio programmers understood perfectly, which is partly why the song was so electric and so dangerous.
I want you to bring my rocking shoes. Tonight I'm going to rock away all of my blues.
Roy Brown's name appears in almost no history books on rock and roll. His song appears on almost every list. Roy Brown wrote the blueprint and someone else cashed the check.
Well, now meet me in a hurry behind the bar. Don't be afraid of rock me, rock. Come on, rock me, rock.
The next artist on this list had their song stripped of every trace of what made it great, and still lost the charts.
Get out of that kitchen, baby, wash your face and hands.
10. Shake, Rattle and Roll, Big Joe Turner, 1954.
Where you at, baby, look so mellow and fine.
Big Joe Turner recorded Shake, Rattle and Roll in New York on February 15, 1954. The song hit number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart by June of that year and sat there for 3 weeks.
I can't believe my eyes, all that jive in mine.
It was raw, physical, and exactly as suggestive as it sounded. Lines like, "I'm like a one-eyed cat peeping in a seafood store," left nothing to the imagination. The problem was that radio programmers in 1954 weren't playing records like that for white audiences, so someone cleaned it up.
I can look at you, baby, there you ain't no child no more.
Bill Haley and his Comets recorded their cover version on June 7th, 1954. The very same week Turner's original was topping the R&B chart. Haley's producer later boasted to a reporter that they stay clear of anything suggestive, and the rewritten lyrics proved it.
Well, you look so warm, but your heart is cold inside.
Gone was the seafood store. A Gone was everything that made the song live. Haley's version peaked at number 7 on the pop chart and spent 27 weeks in the top 40.
Come on, shake, rattle and roll. You love shake, rattle and roll.
Big Joe Turner's raw original topped the R&B charts, but barely made a dent on the mainstream pop charts. Bill Haley's sanitized version became an international multi-million seller on the pop charts.
I believe to my soul you a devil with my.
Despite censoring the verses, Haley's band forgot to change the chorus's defining line. "I'm like a one-eyed cat peeping in a seafood store." This line is a classic, explicit piece of old blues slang for sexual arousal that completely sailed over the heads of conservative radio programmers.
I like a one-eyed cat, beef, but in a seafood store.
Turner's original is now ranked number 127 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time. Haley's is remembered primarily as a footnote to someone else's fire.
Well, all our work, baby, fast as my money goes.
9. Long Tall Sally, Little Richard, 1956.
Long tall Sally, she's Bill Speechy got everything that Uncle John needs.
Little Richard wrote Long Tall Sally on purpose to be impossible to steal. After watching Pat Boone's bland, note-perfect cover of his Tutti Frutti outsell his original on the pop chart, Richard sat down with his producer Bumps Blackwell and made a decision. They would write a song so fast, with lyrics so rapid-fire, that Boone's clean-cut vocal style could never match it.
Gonna tell Aunt Mary about Uncle John. He claimed he has a misery, but he having a lot of fun.
Richard drilled the line, "duck back down the alley," over and over until he could deliver it at a speed that seemed physically impossible. Boone covered it anyway.
Well, I saw Uncle John with Long Tall Sally. He saw Aunt Mary coming and he ducked back in the alley.
He got it to number 8 on the pop chart. But this time, Richard held his ground. Long Tall Sally peaked at number 6 on the pop chart, a higher position than Boone's version, and number 1 on the R&B chart for 6 of its 19 weeks on the chart.
Yeah,
The recording session took place on February 10th, 1956 at J&M Studio in New Orleans, and the song went on to be inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999. The Beatles covered it. Paul McCartney performed it for decades. Pat Boone's version is remembered mainly as evidence of what the music industry was willing to do to water down a black artist's power. Little Richard fought back and partially won. The next story is about a song whose ownership became tangled in contracts, copyrights, and decisions made far away from the man who wrote it. 8. Mystery Train, Junior Parker, 1953.
16 coaches long.
Herman Little Jr. Parker wrote and recorded Mystery Train in September and October of 1953 at Sam Phillips' Memphis recording service, the same studio that would launch Elvis Presley's career 2 years later.
Train, coming on around the bend.
The song was a blues meditation on a lover leaving on a 16-coach train. Its locomotive rhythm built from the same tradition as a 1930 Carter family folk recording. Parker's version didn't chart significantly, but Sam Phillips held on to the publishing rights and held on to the song.
Baby, it's gonna do it again.
In July 1955, Elvis Presley walked into Sun Studio and recorded Mystery Train in a single take. Phillips later recalled, it was natural as breathing.
Train, coming down.
Presley's cover reached number 11 on the country chart. Here's where it gets complicated. By the time Elvis recorded it, Sam Phillips had added his own name to the song's copyright, a move that occurred, according to music historians, possibly as part of settling a contract dispute with Parker.
Well, it took my baby, it's gonna do it again.
The man who wrote the song saw the credit shift. The man who covered it became a legend. Mystery Train now ranks number 77 on Rolling Stone's 500 greatest songs of all time. Junior Parker's name is a footnote.
Well, it's bringing my baby, 'cause she's mine, all mine.
Junior Parker watched his song take on a life of its own. Our next artist did something very different. He didn't lose his song to someone else. He transformed someone else's inspiration into a sound that changed American music forever.
The man who composed and recorded the original hit version of I Got a Woman.
7. I've Got a Woman, Ray Charles, 1954. Ray Charles didn't steal a song. He transformed one. In the fall of 1954, Charles heard a gospel song called It Must Be Jesus by the Southern Tones playing on the radio while riding with his band. The melody stayed with him. Working with his trumpeter Reynold Richard, he reimagined the song entirely, changing the lyrics from I've got a savior way over Jordan, he saved my soul, to I've got a woman way across town, she's good to me.
I got a woman, real it's good to me.
Charles never hid where the inspiration came from. The controversy wasn't about ownership, it was about what he did with it. The record came out in December 1954 and detonated like a bomb. Billboard called it one of the most infectious blues sides on any label. Gospel singers who heard it were horrified. Charles had taken a sacred musical language and redirected it toward everyday human desire. People said it was sacrilegious, Charles later recalled. Elvis Presley covered it in 1956 for his landmark debut album, mimicking Charles' vocal delivery but marketing it directly to a mainstream rock and roll audience. Ray Charles scored a #1 R&B hit but was locked out of the Pop Top 40. Elvis used the song to dominate national television broadcasts and sell millions of albums.
Well, I said I got a woman way across town. She's good to me.
I Got a Woman hit #1 on the R&B chart in early 1955 and is now widely credited as one of the records that gave birth to soul music. The moment gospel and rhythm and blues stopped being separate rivers. The churches never stopped debating it. The history books never stopped celebrating it.
Everybody, I'm a kid. Yeah, she's a car.
6 songs down, and the pattern is becoming impossible to ignore. Time after time, the original artist created the sound, started the movement, and changed music, only for someone else to receive the spotlight.
Bo diddly, have you heard? My bird.
And these weren't just hit records, many of them helped shape the foundation of rock and roll itself. If you're enjoying the journey, subscribe to Retro Vinyl and let us know in the comments which story has surprised you the most so far.
Like a one-eyed cat, peeping in a people's door.
Stay with us. The next story begins inside a small Texas studio with a song that seemed to belong to everyone.
I searched and I searched, but I
6 Crying in the Chapel. The Orioles. 1953.
no way on earth to find peace of mind.
Artie Glenn wrote Crying in the Chapel for his teenage son Daryl to sing. Daryl recorded it while still in high school in 1953, backed by his father's band.
I prayed the Lord that I'll grow strong.
It became a local hit in Fort Worth, Texas. Then publishers got hold of it, and it went national. Daryl Glenn's version reached #6 on the pop chart. But within months, the song had been covered by June Valley, Rex Allen, Ella Fitzgerald, Art Lund, and the R&B vocal group The Orioles.
I know the meaning of content.
In 1953 alone, 5 separate versions charted simultaneously on the Billboard pop chart. The Orioles took the song to #1 on the R&B chart and #11 on the pop chart, giving it a warmth and vulnerability that the country original hadn't reached.
The tears I shed were tears of joy.
12 years later, in 1965, Elvis Presley's version hit #3 in the US and #1 in the UK, a recording he'd actually made in 1960 and held back because his manager couldn't secure the publishing rights.
I am happy with the Lord.
The Orioles' 1953 recording of Crying in the Chapel was a monumental milestone in American music history, peaking at #11 on the Billboard pop charts. While it followed their own 1948 breakthrough track, It's Too Soon to Know, as an early black vocal group crossover. Its massive commercial success firmly proved to major record labels that emotional black vocal styles possessed immense, untapped mainstream value.
Take your troubles to the chapel.
One song, one chapel, one family's prayer. And an industry that turned it into a race to see who could profit fastest.
Where people are of one accord.
One song, rewritten and re-recorded across the country, became a hit in multiple voices. But our next entry is where a song's meaning was completely rewritten. and the original artist was pushed out of the pop chart almost entirely. 5. Rocket 88, Jackie Brinston and Ike Turner, 1951.
Women have heard of jalopies, you've heard the noise they make, but let me introduce my new Rocket 88.
The story of Rocket 88 starts with an amp falling off the roof of a station wagon somewhere on Highway 61 in Mississippi. The speaker was damaged. The sound that came out of it when they plugged it in at Sam Phillips' Memphis studio was a buzzing, distorted roar that nobody had ever put on a record before.
V8 motor and this smart and designed, black convertible top, and the gals don't mind.
Phillips stuffed the cone with crumpled paper to stabilize it. That accident became the signature sound of what many historians call the first rock and roll record.
Your heart, Raymond, blow.
The band was Ike Turner and his Kings of Rhythm. The vocalist was Jackie Brinston, Turner's saxophonist. Phillips recorded both men, then licensed the session to Chess Records, and somehow the record was pressed and released as Jackie Brinston and his Delta Cats, not under Ike Turner's name.
Sporting with me, riding all around town for joy. Blow your heart, Raymond.
Turner later blamed Phillips for the error. The band members were each paid $20 for the session, with the exception of Brinston, who sold his rights to the song entirely for $910.
Step in my rocket and don't be late, baby. We're pulling out about past 8.
Rocket 88 hit number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart, and the man who built the band drove to the session and played on every note received a printing error as his reward.
Going round the corner and get a bill. Everybody in my car's gonna take.
It is now in both the Blues Hall of Fame and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Ike Turner got his name added. Eventually,
A little nip. Move on out, oozing and cruising along.
the next artist's story takes us into a recording session where the sound itself changed history. But the question of who truly owned that breakthrough would be disputed for decades.
Here she is, the originator of Dance With Me, Henry, Etta James.
4. The Wallflower, Roll With Me, Henry. Etta James, 1955.
Hey, baby, what do I have to do?
Etta James was 17 years old when she wrote The Wallflower as a direct answer to Hank Ballard's banned radio-proof anthem, Work With Me, Annie. Ballard's original had been such a raw, double entendre-laced smash that the FCC refused to let radio stations play it. Yet it still sold over 1 million copies and topped the R&B chart for 7 weeks in the summer of 1954. James, a teenager from Los Angeles, wrote her own response, recorded it with producer Johnny Otis, and released it in 1955 under the title Roll With Me, Henry. The song hit number 1 on the R&B chart. A 17-year-old's debut, a hit by any measure. Then Georgia Gibbs, a white pop singer, recorded a reworded, cleaned-up version called Dance With Me, Henry, which went to number 1 on the pop chart and sold far more copies on the mainstream market. Gibbs made no changes to the melody. The royalties, however, did not flow equally. James spent much of her later career speaking about what happened to her music in that era, and The Wallflower has since been recognized as both a chart milestone and a case study in the systematic appropriation of Black female artistry in 1950s America.
Talk to me, baby.
In her autobiography, Rage to Survive, Etta James revealed that she later ran into Georgia Gibbs at a venue. When Gibbs went to hug her, James refused, demanding to know why Gibbs couldn't write her own songs instead of taking music directly out of the hands of young black artists. The next story is about a teenage debut hit that was instantly caught in a wider industry race, where multiple versions competed for the same song.
You never know how much I love you. Never know how much I care.
3. Fever, Little Willie John, 1956.
When you kiss me, fever, when you hold me tight.
Little Willie John did not want to record Fever. According to King Records producer Henry Glover, John had to be talked into the studio for the session. The song had been written by Eddie Cooley and Otis Blackwell. Blackwell writing under the pen name John Davenport because he was under contract to another publisher and couldn't attach his real name.
Bless my soul, I love you. Take this heart.
John was 18 years old when he finally recorded it on March 1st, 1956. He went in reluctant and came out with a #1 R&B hit that stayed on the chart for 23 weeks and sold 1 million copies in the U.S.
I light up when you call my name, because I know you're gonna treat me right.
2 years later, Peggy Lee recorded her own version. She stripped out the verses she considered too risque and added entirely new lyrics, including the now famous Romeo Loved Juliet and Captain Smith and Pocahontas verses, without taking a songwriting credit, and released it as though the changes were cosmetic.
Romeo loved Juliet, Juliet she felt the same.
Her version hit #8 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1958, became her signature song, and was nominated for Record of the Year at the 1959 Grammy Awards. Most people who know Fever learned it from Peggy Lee. Most people who know music history know it belongs to a boy from Arkansas who didn't even want to be in the room.
Fever in the morning, fever all through the night.
To Work With Me, Annie, Hank Ballard and the Midnighters, 1954. Hank Ballard wrote Work With Me, Annie in Cincinnati in January 1954, and it was so explicitly sexual for its era that the FCC banned it from radio play before it was even officially released. The word work was understood in the black community as a direct euphemism for sex. Lines like, Annie, please don't cheat, give me all my meat, made sure there was no ambiguity. Radio stations wouldn't touch it. Critics called it obscene. One television host famously declared that all R&B records were dirty and as bad for kids as dope. The song sold over 1 million copies anyway, without airplay, without mainstream promotion, purely by word of mouth through R&B record shops and jukeboxes in black neighborhoods. It hit #1 on the R&B chart and stayed for 7 weeks. Art historian Marv Goldberg later argued that Work With Me, Annie did more to introduce white teenagers to R&B than any other single song of the period. The industry's attempt to erase it created exactly the underground heat that made it unstoppable. Mercury Records took the exact same melody, rewrote the lyrics into an innocent song about learning a new dance, renamed it Dance With Me, Henry, and had pop singer Georgia Gibbs record it. Hank Ballard also wrote The Twist, a song that Chubby Checker covered and turned into a #1 pop hit. For the second time, Ballard built something that someone else got credit for launching.
Get it while the getting is good.
Hank Ballard built 2 revolutions and saw others receive the mainstream recognition for both. Our final entry is the moment when a B-side recording crossed into history, and the version the world remembers would belong to someone else entirely. One Shaw Boom, The Chords, 1954.
Life could be a dream, life could be a dream.
The Chords recorded Shaw Boom as a B-side. That's the detail that makes the whole story feel almost cruel. Producer Jerry Wexler at Atlantic Records asked them to record a cover of an existing song for the A-side, standard industry practice at the time, and gave them the flip side to do whatever they wanted with.
If only all my grudge plans would come true. If I could only spend my whole life loving.
The Chords used it to record a joyful, nonsensical, harmonically dazzling doo-wop track full of sounds that had no business being on a record and were irresistible for exactly that reason. Radio DJs loved it. The B-side became the hit.
Every time I look at you, something is on.
Shboom became one of the first R&B songs by a black vocal group to cross over and break into the mainstream pop chart. A genuinely historic moment.
I can take you up in paradise up above. Shaboom, you tell me, darling, I'm the only one that you love.
It reached the top 5 on both the R&B and pop charts simultaneously, something almost unheard of in 1954. Then, just weeks later, the Crew Cuts, a white Canadian vocal group, recorded a slowed down, polished, pop-friendly version for Mercury Records, and it went to number 1 on the Billboard chart.
Oh, life give me a dream, if I could take you up in paradise up above.
Their version is the one that got the radio play, the jukebox slots, the mainstream recognition. The Chords version became a footnote. A young Pat Boone later used the Crew Cuts cover as his personal template for how to cover black R&B songs for white audiences.
Dream, sweet hello again. Shaboom and open beat again, boom, ding dong, ding dong.
Shboom by the Chords is now ranked number 215 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time. The B-side that changed music. The song that history almost let someone else own. 12 songs, 12 stories of artists whose contributions were often overshadowed, repackaged, or forgotten. But these records did more than climb the charts. Many of them helped create the sound of modern popular music and laid important pieces of the foundation that became rock and roll.
Sweet Lorraine, sweet Georgia Brown,
the spotlight didn't always land where it should have. The credit didn't always follow the creativity, but the music endured. And that's why these stories still matter today. So tell us in the comments, which artist on this list deserved more recognition and which story surprised you the most?
I got a woman, good to me.
If you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe to Retro Vinyl for more untold stories behind the records, artists, and moments that shaped music history. Until next time, keep the needle on the record and the volume where it belongs. And remember, the charts tell one story, the records tell another, and history never forgets the difference.
A lot of fun on